You may have heard the old Cherokee story of the two wolves that we all have fighting within us. So a young boy asks his grandfather, which wolf wins the fight? The one of anger, fear, and sorrow, or the one of love, kindness, and peace? And the grandfather wisely responds, the one we feed. Hello, and welcome back to Torches, Yoga and Mindfulness. I'm Lauren, and I'll be your coach. This is week 2 of our 7th skill of mindfulness, which is focus. If you missed it, don't worry. You can catch the first video I have on focus where we introduce it as a skill and a practice of self-respect. And I share a couple practices that you can use in your day-to-day life to sharpen your focus skill. But for today, let's talk about how what we give our attention to shapes our reality. Of course, we're going to get into what it does in our brains, and I have some practices for you that you'll be able to try at the end. Let's get into it, and you know I want to start with the science side first. In psychology, selective attention is our brain's ability to filter out all the chatter, all the background noise, so that we can focus on what's important. And essentially, selective focus applies 3 different filters to our attention. What is meaningful to us, what is emotionally charging, and what is aligned with our goals and survival. The tricky part is we don't always consciously decide what is meaningful to us, emotionally charging, or aligned with our goals and survival. And that's why mindfulness is so powerful. It allows us to take that pause just for a moment to reset and decide what gets our attention. When we intentionally plan to practice focus or any other mindful skills, we set ourselves up to be able to take that crucial pause, even out in the day-to-day world when life is chaotic or when we feel like we've lost control and we're just stuck in autopilot. Selective attention isn't just about our own willpower. It is a team of different regions of our brain coming to work together. The prefrontal cortex decide what matters. The anterior cingulate cortex keeps all those distractions and the background noise tampered down. And the parietal cortex locks in and holds our attention to whatever it is that the PFC has decided is important to us. And even our thalamus decides what makes it through to our consciousness in the first place. So yes, our brains are wired to help us maintain and keep our focus, but it's more than just mechanics. How we experience focus moment to moment matters just as much. And that's where a lot of us can get tripped up because we've been told and taught that focusing means trying harder. But in truth, real focus comes from a softening. We think focus means a clenched jaw and a furrowed brow and just tension and trying harder. But mindful focus doesn't feel like effort. It feels like returning gently and kindly. So if your focus feels strained, that's your cue to soften, not to grip tighter. Sometimes the best way to strengthen attention is to relax. Maybe you even heard it from a friend or a family member. You tell them you're frustrated, you're stuck on something, you're trying to work through and figure out a problem you're dealing with, whether it's personal, work, relationships. You let them know you're just frustrated and you can't figure it out, and they tell you, step away, take a break, go for a walk. Whether it's a work challenge you're dealing with, a difficult conversation you're rehearsing in your head, or a personal life challenge you're trying to work through, your brain reaches a point where pushing harder is no longer productive. Taking a mindful pause, like stepping out for some fresh air, grabbing a snack, or my favorite, snuggling a pet for a minute, helps to clear out the mental clutter, allowing for that reset to happen. And then when you come back to the task, when you come back to the dilemma, you're not only going to be more focused, you're going to be more present, more aware, and more kind to yourself. This isn't just good advice from a friend. That break they're encouraging you to take is what science calls cognitive rest and attentional recovery, and these are vital for sustained focus. But focus isn't just a mental activity. We hold intelligences in 4 different ways. We have our mental intelligence, of course, which is our thoughts and our logic. We have our emotional intelligence, which is our feelings and our reactions. There's physical intelligence, the signs that our body gives us, and our intuitive intelligence, that gut feeling when it's telling you something's not right or something is so right. Maybe you grew up in a home where either directly or through tone and other behaviors, you were taught and told that crying was a weakness. So you learned to override your feelings, to be strong, or to avoid conflict. Then maybe later in life you were in a relationship where your gut kept telling you something's not right here. Something doesn't feel good. But every time you brought it up to the other person, they made you feel like you were being irrational, paranoid, or crazy. Eventually, you stopped trusting your own inner knowing. And in school and work, we are praised and rewarded for logic, strategy, productivity. But rarely, if ever, is there any acknowledgement or teachings of how to listen to emotional cues, listening to the body's signals, or valuing our intuition as truth. So, in turn, we over identify with our thoughts and ignore everything else. We default to overthinking and trying to logic our way through everything, even when that's not the tool that that moment calls for. Focus doesn't only have to live in the mind. You can focus with your body, with that tension. You can focus with your heart by feeling your way through that moment. You can focus with your intuition by sensing what is right, even if you can't explain it with words. So when you're practicing focus, you might ask yourself, check in. Am I focusing with my mind, with my body, with my feelings, or with my intuition? See where that focus is rooted. There is no right answer here. You don't have to choose a right one. Just noticing where that focus is rooted can bring more awareness. And that is where balanced focus begins. So, for example, I might be halfway through an episode of Lost when over in the corner I notice my cat is doing something totally adorable, being the little cute little button that he is. And without even realizing it, now my attention and my focus is locked on him, and I'm not even paying attention to the show anymore. That is emotional intelligence at work. My attention shifts because the experience of watching my cat is going to bring me joy, uplifting feelings of connection and love. Or maybe we've been working for hours and we suddenly begin to notice that tightness in our neck. Maybe our posture is collapsing. That is our body asking for attention. That's physical intelligence stepping in. And sometimes we get that gut feeling. It may not be loud, it may not be logical. It just tells us, pause here, stop. And that is the intuition guiding my focus. Each type of intelligence brings something valuable. And when we're able to notice where our attention is coming from, that allows us to be able to choose how we're going to respond. And that's really where mindfulness begins. Okay, friend, so let's talk about some practices that we can use to go from struggling and straining to focus into a gentle focus. One of the most powerful focus tools I know is so simple, it seems like it shouldn't even work. But this is one of those instances where simplicity really is the magic. It's not about doing more, it's about taking a pause, just long enough to shift how you show up. So, this first practice is to take a pause in between everything you do. This can be just long enough to take one good mindful deep breath, or you can take 30 seconds to really anchor and drop back into your body. Or maybe you need a few extra minutes before going into your home after a hard day of work to shake off that frustration so you don't carry that energy into your home. I, as your coach, do recommend this pause to be 3 breaths. On the first breath, you're going to relax the body. On the second breath, we relax the mind. And on the third breath, we're going to ask ourselves, what is most important right now? Answering yourself with compassion, not pressure. As we practice our attention more and more, we don't need to pause in between everything we do. But this is a great practice to do for a week to train your body and to train your brain to take this intentional pause. When we practice the habit of presence, we teach our nervous system that it's okay to relax. It's safe to slow down. And then we create more space between stimulation and response. And in that space is where we choose how we want to show up, how we want to respond instead of reacting. All right, friend, the second practice I have for you today is to practice focusing on a still object. So the objects you choose can be anything, it can be anywhere, whether you're at home or at work or you're standing in line somewhere, you can take that moment to practice focus. Find an object to lock your focal point. And if you're at home or work where you can, set a timer on your phone for 1 minute. Locked on that focal point, locked on that object, keep your focus there for 1 minute. And when your attention wanders, because it will, when it wanders, just gently bring it back to the object. And while we can practice this anywhere, a really good idea is to designate an object in your home for this practice. Maybe you want to choose a gemstone or a picture of a loved one. Any kind of memorabilia or trinket, any single stationary object works. And when you designate this object in your home, every time you walk by it, you'll have that gentle reminder to return to presence, to return to your focus. So pick your object, whether it's a designated piece or just a random stationary object, wherever you happen to be at then. Keep your focus on it for 1 minute, and as your mind wanders, just gently bring it back. No criticisms, no judgments, no trying to fix. Just objectively return to your focal point. And this simple practice trains the brain to return gently without judgment, without distracting itself with more judgments and stories that keep us off of our focal point. It strengthens our capacity to stay present even when distractions come up. Okay, friend, as we sign off today, please remember we all have thoughts of self-doubt and fear. It's perfectly normal and perfectly natural. But we also have thoughts of love and kindness, clarity and motivation. But what we focus on grows stronger within us, and we can choose. Okay, friend, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the 8 skills of mindfulness or any of my other mindful living tips. This week, I will also have a guided meditation for you to practice and fine-tune your focus skill. If you're ready to work one-on-one with me as your coach and see what mindfulness can really do for you, I have a link in the description that you can use to book your free 15-minute clarity call where we can talk about your goals with mindfulness. Thank you so much for sharing a piece of your day with me, friends. Stay present, stay kind to yourself, and I will see you soon.